Hello everybody. In this video, we're going to continue working in our application, the View Company Directory. I would like to doing the router installation and how showcase what a single page application is and proceed doing the app itself. But before we actually jump to the code, I want to do a little bit of maintenance. That is a good practice whenever you actually doing changes to your app or between iterations of the application. Do that little maintenance here and there. It will be beneficial. So let's actually get started. As you can see, I already have my console open. In this case, this is my Linux environment. So I have, and that's why, and I have a special configuration. That's why it looks like this. But for you, probably you have your terminal if you're on your Mac computer, or you have PowerShell or the command prompt if you're on Windows. It will be different per application. But for now, what I want to showcase is that I'm already inside my directory where I have my application. And before I start doing something, I want to verify dependencies. I want to verify where those dependencies versions are. So because we started the project last week with the npm package manager, we can actually use npm to verify those dependencies version. So I will type npm outdated. And when you do that, you will have a list of different dependencies that we have on the application and version that we have. And let me make this a little bit smaller, probably just was too big. There you go, not to have that line break. We can see the application, what current version do we have installed, what is the version that we could go in without issue, or the version that we actually have that we should be able to go to, and what is the latest version of that particular dependency. In this case, we can see that Faker.js, Bit plugin view, Bit and View, all of them are behind, but the one that released, the one that we have in our package.json, is actually the latest one. So we are good to go in without making much changes. Usually, when the jump is too big, we can see that sometimes is yellow. I mean, it could put something and breaking change, or red when it's actually a major version and we need to verify the documentation. In this case, will be really simple, just to do npm update, and those dependencies will be downloading and will be upgrading our dependency tree. We just wait for a couple of seconds. It will depend from your computer and your internet connection. And when we're done, we can see that how many packages have been changed. Now you will see, wait, we just changed 4. Right here, we say that 1 was added, 1 was removed, and 24 was changed. Well, in reality, those dependencies have other dependencies. So in reality, it's a 3 over a 3 over a 3 of dependency. And that's why we need to be really careful what we install in our application in order not to make it too heavy. In this case, updating these 4 major dependencies, in reality, changed 24 package. From those, one pretty cool thing about npm package manager is that can audit those packages too, and it's telling us right now that we are fine and we don't have vulnerabilities. And because this is built on top of the open source community, from those 203 packages that we have there, not all of them are primary packages. Some of them are dependencies for this package in particular. Some of them are looking for funding. So if you want to help the open source community, you can type the command npm fund without that, and you will see the information for different package and where to go in order to do your donation, if that's the case that you want to do. Sometimes I will say this, it is important when you're using a tool that is free, that is open source. That doesn't mean that didn't require people or a team to actually develop that particular tool. And if you're using that tool in a professional way, your company or the way that you are able to help those developers that are doing this for free, sponsorship them and give some donations, help them to continue working those particular tools. So that's a little commercial that I want to throw in there. So after we have our dependency, I will clear it with clear. I'm not sure which one is the command for Windows. This is usually for Mac and Linux, but I will do it right here just to clear my screen. If I do git status, I can see that my package log JSON modified because it's the one who actually have the particular version that we have installed. And we can do a simple npm run that and verify that everything is working the way it's supposed to. Let's open this one, and it's opening a new screen. And I can see that everything just got loaded, and the animation is still working the way it's supposed to. So I think we are fine for now. Of course, in a real world scenario, whenever we upgrade package, a further testing need to be done. And there is another concept about end-to-end testing in order to automate that user testing of how the application should render, what information should be showing. But it does outside the scope of this course and this semester. So for now, I can really quick see that everything is rendering and is doing what it's supposed to. Let me see if my pagination plugin is still doing what it's supposed to. If I refresh, I should get like a new people because that's what Faker is doing. And this is for my internet, probably have a little bit issues just for the pictures. But yeah, new people just came in. So everything is working as expected. So now that we have that in place, let me just get back to my code. Let me close the development server. You can now simple git add everything or dot. We can do git status now, and we can see that that change is being committed, and we are ready to do git commit message, and let's put this message as updated dependency. Cool. Now we can actually just put git push, and we updated our GitHub repository. So I really hope that you like this part. Now let's do the second part that I would like to do as it's not maintenance, but probably will be a little bit better as a how can I explain this as a friendly way of developer experience, improve the developer experience, and that will help us how we import different elements in our application. So let me actually open the app, the source code actually, and this is my Visual Studio code. As you can see, I have my terminal closed and I have my sidebar closed. I like to work like this in order to focus what I'm doing. So when I have those closed, there is a really cool way in order to go to a particular file. And we actually have it right here. Go to file is a Control P, and show commands is Control Shift P. If you have a Mac computer, probably it's Command Shift and Command P. So if I do Control Shift P or Command Shift P if you're in a Mac computer, we can see that every different function or menu for Visual Studio Code is right here. If you click Escape, we can get out. If I do a Control P, all my files show there, and actually I can look for something. Let's say, for example, if I want to see my TypeScript configuration, I could type, my Tailwind configuration, Tailwind, and that file showcase. I click Enter, and that particular file just got open. Let me close that file again. Another way to go in there is going Control Shift P if we have a command. Let's say, for example, that we need to view the history. And actually it didn't work that one because I think that's for file. So I have something Git graph. This is one of the many plugins that I have installed, but I don't know if you have it or not, but you install This one you can actually see it. If I click this particular one, it showcases or it opens a command where I can see all the commits I have been doing over time in my application. And if I click something, I can see what file just got changed and things like that. I can open and I can see what were the changes in that particular. It's pretty neat. But you need to install the Git graph extension for that. What I want to showcase is how you can actually open Control Shift P or Command Shift P this command palette. Now, if you have the command palette and you want to look for a file, you actually see that we have a major than sign in there. If we delete that, we move to the file part. If we add it, we move to the command part. So it doesn't matter which one you open, you can actually do that. I do a lot. I know there is more typing, but actually I used to open the command, and when I need a file, I just delete that and start typing my command. For example, my bit configuration. And let me open my bit configuration a little bit, and let me show something that we can actually do to improve a little bit what we need to do. And that will be adding something new in our configuration. What I want to do is after the plugin, I can do control space bar, I think. Yes, it's working. And we can see that we have some properties there. There's one called resolve, and this came from the configuration for bit. So I can actually do a resolve, and this resolve will help me know something doing pretty neat. I can have an alias. And let me finish to write it where it's supposed to be. It actually should be like this. And let me close it. Let me do a comma. And I think I need to close this one too. No, it's too much. There you go. So this alias, and this is a simplified version. This is not working the way it's supposed to. I will show you why. But pretty much what we need to do here, and what I want to do is I want to create an alias for always pointing to our source directory. The proper way to do it is actually having the path resolve, where it take the directory name and the source. And you say, wait, what is this? And we have an issue with path. Path is not defined. Well, because we are using Node.js as a JavaScript runtime, path is part of that particular runtime itself that we can utilize. And it will resolve automatically something that we gave them. In this case, their name is a dynamic element that says where this project is actually running. And when this project is running, you just handle this particular their name in there. And then we just add in from wherever I have this project, I want that directory plus the source directory. So we are just making one big path pointing to a source directory that will be rely as an add for us. So in order to make work the Node.js part, let me just import that. So let me go to the top, and actually probably we can do it right here. Let me do import something. It will be from path. And what we actually need, and I'm actually not sure about this, is like this or like this. Yeah, I think it's like this. We save it. We thought that the path just got resolved. So how this actually help us a little bit? Let me open my main view file. Let me do Control P and look for my main view right here. And my main view, what it's doing, is actually importing main search, main cart, and main pagination. Something that I can actually look at is how we should be handling or where we can actually need to be importing those particular files. So let me open the Explorer just to see where we are. We are inside the source directory components. So in this particular case, we can actually do, instead of doing main search, we will do add component / main search view file. We can do the same with the main card. We can do the same with the pagination. We can save it. And you will say, well, what is the benefit that? That actually, it looks like we're adding code we're supposed to be removing. Well, one of the benefits that we'll be doing is not only the auto-completion works. I have a pad intelligence, I think it's called. And I don't know why my computer is too slow today. So pad intelligence, what it does is, and we have some definitions there, it helps us look for the particular path and it gives you that auto-completion in a little bit better way. And parallel complete is another one. Well, I don't have that one. So I have the path intelligence and I have I think a second one. Don't remember which one is. Well, with that, more than enough. That help us have that little, let me delete this again. So I can actually do add / and do control space and it opened my path. So I have my component folder, I click enter, and then I can actually look what I need. And the first one are my view files. So let me open in this case, my pagination one. So my error completion is working a little bit better. Also, another benefit is if we need this component somewhere else for any reason, we can actually copy this line completely as it is, and we can paste it in any other component. And it doesn't matter that where other component is, this is the official path for this one. So in this case, the previous way is that we're saying, look at this particular file folder, but sometimes probably we need to do something like go 2 folders behind and then go to that particular one. So in order to prevent having to change the relative path from whatever we're calling that component, the add actually give you that shortcut to always be consistent across the code. Now, other than that, I think you're looking this error that I'm having here is how the way I have my setup enabled is because it's actually telling me that it's a best practice to have my components in multiple names instead of one name. It's just a recommended practice for view. So what I can do here is I can actually open my main view. I will rename it, and let's actually call this main page. And that error will get away. But before we continue, we have that component in our application view. Actually, yes, here. So what we need to do is we need to change these 3 elements, and I'm doing this with the Alt key from my keyboard. I'm selected main, and main, and I click just type page and save it, and that should be more than enough. Let me remove this part and just do add components navbar, add components main page. Let me see what other view file do I have. This is my application view, my navbar. Let me see if I'm importing something. I'm not importing any components, so I think we're fine here. And what else do we have? Main page, we already fixed it. Main cards, yes, we can actually change this to add. And here we have actually cards main. This should be add, and then should be components, and then the main card single, I think. Yes, perfect. Here we have another best practices. Whenever we have a before, it's a best practice to have a key. It's not necessarily needed, but because we're using the recommended rules, it's telling us that we need to have a key to have here. And that key needs to be different every time. So because it's a dynamic attribute, so we need to specify the key. And because it's dynamic, we bind it with this column at the beginning, or we can use be bind the way that it's telling us. But this is pretty much the same. And we can define the key to be something different every time that this component repeats. Well, that's pretty much the end. We save it, and we get rid of that error. So my main card single have already now a key that is dynamic and will be dependent before the way that we call it before. Let me start looking for the rest of the files. This is the main card. Let me open main search. Let me go to the top. And we're not importing anything here. Perfect. Pagination. And we need to change something here. Okay, this is a setup that I have in my computer. Probably that's why it's making this. So I think the way to fix it, I just was making some testing. Let me try to save it. Yes. So we have a conflicting rule between printer and ESLint. We just need to correct that. And more likely is this rule. So let's remove this. And let's actually put another one called view indent script style. And let's make this to be error 2. Probably. And there you go. So that error you got fixed there. You had an issue somewhere else. Definition was not found. Because probably I need to install something different. Let me try it. Actually, can we remove it? Yeah. There you go. Yes, we just removed that completely rule sorry. And that was the one making noise in there. So we just get back to here. We have the pagination component open. We can see that everything is well. We have an issue with this button, and it's pretty much the button for the numbers. Whenever page from pages, where page is actually a number in this case, the only things that we need to do is just add that same binding for the key. And the different element that's always changed is actually page. So let's just put a page and save it. Should be more than enough. And let's go to the last one, card single. And that's not imported anything there. So we should be fine. What else can we import to verify? Git config, where we put the path we're supposed to. And probably the only things that we can add, I don't know if we had it. Let me just verify. No, probably we can add just a new. Well, it's not needed. I was adding the gsconfig file, but let's do it. So let's do a gsconfig dot common JavaScript. And for this file, we need to add a couple of elements. And JavaScript config file, what it does is it will tell Visual Studio Code how to behave or what to do in special circumstance. So let's start moving forward with that. And actually, it's not common JavaScript. It should be a JSON file. Let me rename. You lose it. There you go. Rename JSON. Okay. In this JSON object, we just need to tell what to include. And we just gave it an array, and we tell everything that is inside the source directory is what you need to look at. So we're just limiting the scope where some auto completion for Visual Studio Code will work. And all those changes, I will put those changes on the starter login too, but that will be that will not be a video. It's just to make the starter work the way it's supposed to. So we need to have that, and we need to also add some compile options, compiler options, and that's another object. Well, and we need to tell them pretty much base URL. The base URL should be the current directory where we are, so it's not going to look outside of project pretty much. And we just need to mimic the path that we already have before. So we can actually define several. What we will do, or add / everything should point to my source directory, everything. And I have a double thing here. Oops, I'm forgetting a comma here. There you go. So we have that there. And the only element that we need to add, just to be safe, is something that was reading. In our main bit configuration, I was looking the configuration that we have in the bit file, in the bit web page. And it recommends to have the styling in order to have data auto completion, even that you don't use TypeScript. It's actually really good. So if we put this on the top, we'll give you data auto completion that we need. So let me just get up from here. Let's go to the top and we just put it right there and we save it. That will help us a little bit with whenever we need to add something, like those one actually will came from here. And we already have them. Perfect. So I think that's more than enough. Let's verify that everything is working. Let's console this. Let's run it again. And it just got open here. And we can see that that animation still applies. The elements get loaded. The pagination is working. Well, the view of that pagination, right? And everything is where it's supposed to. Cool. So I will close the video here. Meanwhile, in the next one, we will now working with the router. So this was for improvement on the project itself in two separate areas. We updated dependencies. It is important whenever we do a new iteration of the code. And the second one is just to improve our Visual Studio Code configuration here and there. Keep some better practices about some styling and in order to, how can I explain this? Sorry, I just got lost. That error message I just got me here. It's incredible. It didn't show me before. Yes. TypeScript IntelliSense disable to enable it. Configure preserve in the compiler options on my JavaScript file. Let's do ESX preserve in the JavaScript config. Let's actually do that. So let's do another comma. Let's do GSX preserve. Save it. Okay, cool. Perfect. And now that JavaScript config give you a little more properties and we can work a little bit better with the different options or elements that we need to see. As you can see, if we hover over, we can have several places or information that in order to know what it needs to happen there. Let's do a final. In the previous one, we just did it through the code, through command prompt or the terminal. Let's do to Visual Studio Code. Let's apply better practices. And corrected lint post. I do Control Enter, and that will make the commit to the after we have everything already staged. Control Enter also works. And let's synchronize those changes so you could push it whenever we need it. So I really hope that you like it. Any question or any doubt, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.